The Sunshine Phonics Decodables program. This video will look generally at what decodable books are and why they are so important in the process of learning to read. Then we'll look specifically at the Sunshine Phonics Decodables program. We'll look at the phonics focus and learning sequence that Sunshine uses and how the books are structured. Finally, we'll take a look at what other resources are available to support learning in the Sunshine Phonics Decodables program. So what exactly are decodable books? Decodable books have been specifically written to support the synthetic phonics or structured literacy approach to the teaching of reading. So they are written quite differently to the way leveled books have been written and used in the past. Decodable books teach the alphabetic code in a structured and sequential order. What do we mean by that? Our alphabet has 26 letters, but those 26 letters make 44 sounds in English. The sounds are called phonemes. Letters or groups of letters represent those sounds, and they are called graphemes. In a decodable program, students are taught part of the alphabetic code. They then apply their learning by reading a decodable book, which features only that part of the alphabetic code that they have been taught up to that point. To see the difference between decodable books and other books, we'll look at a beginner reader decodable text versus a beginner reader leveled book. This is a decodable text from the very start of the Sunshine Decodables program, which we call a Set 1 text. At the start of the program, students are taught 8 sounds. Those sounds are S, E, T, P, E, M, D. And they are taught how to blend the sounds in vowel consonant words like in and at, and then consonant vowel consonant words like pat. For example, p, a, t, pat. On this example, the sentence is Sam and Dan pat Pam. All the words in that sentence are decodable because the students know all those sounds. All 20 books in Set 1 of the Sunshine program are decodable once the students have learnt the sounds S, A, T, P, E, N, M, D. The only exception to decoding words is with what we call tricky words or common exception words. These are words that are key to reading a text, like I and the. These words feature graphemes and phonemes that students won't have been taught at this point, so they can't be decoded yet. We include a few tricky words in decodable texts in order to be able to tell a sensible, engaging story. But we tell students they are tricky for now, and we just tell them the word. Of course, later in the program, they will be taught the code that they need to decode the word, and then the word will no longer be tricky. Now we'll look at the non-decodable or authentic text. This text says, "Look at my shoes." On the surface, it is simple, as it's a short sentence of only 4 words. But from a decoding point of view, it's challenging. There is a lot of complexity here for a beginning reader. The word at is decodable, but the word look has a vowel digraph in the middle, which is 2 O's making a short oo sound. In the word my, the students would know the common sound for M, which is m, but they wouldn't know at this point that Y also makes a long I sound. With the word shoes, students would need to know the consonant digraph SH makes sh, and they need to know the vowel digraph OE makes a long oo sound, and that S can also make the Z sound. So, to unpack the meaning of this text, students have to look elsewhere. For example, they have to look at the picture and think, what is this book about? Or they have to use context cues to try and work out what it is, and they have to make guesses at those words. Essentially, the key difference between the two types of text is that decodable text is set up so that students can sound out or decode every word they need to in order to read the book. The vocabulary is controlled to match the phonic knowledge students have. With leveled text, students need to use picture and context cues or make guesses at words. Why are people using decodable books? We are hearing a lot at the moment about the science of reading. This refers to a huge body of research that has led to a consensus that there is an evidence-based best practice approach to the teaching of reading. This recommends that teachers provide systematic, direct and explicit phonics instruction so that students master the essential alphabetic code-breaking skills required for reading proficiency. However, the science of reading research does not say that phonics is the only thing you need to be a successful reader. There are 6 key components to successful beginning reading. These are oral language, phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, comprehension, and fluency. Connecting all of this is the importance of explicit instruction. Students need to be explicitly and systematically taught so that there are no gaps in their learning. We'll now turn to the Sunshine Phonics Decodables program, how it is structured and what it looks like. In total, the Sunshine program comprises of 180 fully decodable books arranged over 2 series aimed at Year 1 to Year 3 students. These books provide explicit and systematic teaching of the 44 phonemes of English. Our stories are sensical and sensible. They are enjoyable texts that make sense to students. The early books all feature the same recurring characters that students get to know. We also have non-fiction titles. To go with the texts, there are 5 teachers' books. These contain explicit teaching plans for every story, along with student activity sheets and word banks. We have a comprehensive scope and sequence available as a separate booklet, which shows the order in which our program teaches the alphabetic code. It also summarizes teaching points, tricky words, and focus words for every book. This allows teachers to quickly locate books to teach to fill any gaps in students' knowledge. A free assessment kit is downloadable from our website. This includes a pre-programmed screening test, phonics assessment, unseen text in order to assess reading accuracy, and comprehension questions about that unseen text to check comprehension. We have sound cards and word cards which can be used to practice grapheme-phoneme correspondence, as well as sounding out and blending words. Our website also has a large array of free resources, including desk cards, bingo cards, box labels, charts, and more. The Sunshine program is arranged into 2 series, which can be taught independently or in parallel with each other. Each series follows the same structure and sequence for teaching the 44 phonemes of English. The main difference is that Series 1 is separated into 7 sets and comprises 70 books, whereas Series 2 takes a slightly slower approach, being arranged into 11 sets and comprising 110 books. The early books are focused around the same main characters, Sam, Dan, and Nat, their pets, family, and friends. Students like the familiarity of getting to know these characters and looking forward to the next adventures. The highest level sets in both series move away from stories about Sam, Dan, and Nat and introduce different characters and types of story with non-fiction texts as well as fiction texts. This chart shows the order in which students are taught the sounds of English in the first 5 sets of our program. You can see, as mentioned earlier, that in set 1, students learn their first 8 sounds: s, a, t, p, n, m, d. They practice and apply that knowledge through reading books that only focus on those sounds, and then they build up their phonics knowledge by moving into the next sounds. In set 2, they learn the sounds for g, o, b, h, e, r, f, a, l. They continue learning sounds in sets 3 to 5. Let's look in more detail at the order of teaching in the Sunshine program. This is the phonics overview for Series 2. It shows the structured and systematic way that students will be taught the alphabetic code. The first 3 sets of books are aimed at Year 1 students. Here they are taught simple code, that is, consonants and short vowel sounds. The words included in the books are vowel consonant words like in and at, and consonant vowel consonant words like man, run, pig. There are 10 books per set in each series, making 20 in total per set. Year 1 students moving into Year 2 will be learning sets 4 and 5 of our program. This is where we start moving into complex code, that is vowel digraphs and consonant digraphs, which is where 2 letters make one sound, like CH makes ch and SH makes sh. We introduce each of these phonemes, but only offer the most common spelling of it. We also introduce 2-syllable words. In set 4, for example, the vowel digraph AI, A, is taught in the book Set Sail. In set 5, the book No Fear, No Tears gives practice on the vowel trigraph air. Then we move into Year 2 with sets 6 and 7 of Series 2, which consolidate all the knowledge they have been accumulating. Students now know both simple and complex code, so sets 6 and 7 add another challenge with the adjacent consonants. This is 2 consonants together, such as b, r, p, l, s. Students can now segment and blend consonant-vowel-consonant words like flat and consonant-vowel-consonant words like jump. The last 4 sets of the program, sets 8 to 11, teach extended code. These sets will be taught in Years 2 and 3. The students now know all the phonemes and they know the most common way they are spelt. In sets 8 to 11, they learn that there are other ways to spell and represent those sounds. We'll look now at some of the books in the Sunshine program and see how they are used and how they set students up for reading success. Dip In is a Set 1 book. To read this book, students need to know the 8 sounds of s, a, t, p, I, n, m, d, as we saw before. Before the students read this text, a lot of work would have been done to help students learn the sounds, learn how to blend those sounds, and learn how to read a sentence. Before we read the book, let's take a look at the last page. Each book contains a convenient synopsis of the teaching focus for the book, such as the sounds being practiced, the kinds of words that can be blended with those sounds, the tricky words that come up in the book, and a vocabulary check because students can't have comprehension if they don't understand what the words mean. For after the text has been read, there are some comprehension questions and fluency notes. So the big 6 components that we talked about earlier are all a focus of this program. This is the inside front cover of the book Dip In. All the books in the program start with this kind of information. Here, students will review sounds they need to know to read the book. Then, they will practice segmenting and blending the sounds to create the words. For example, n, a, t, nat. Then, they review the tricky words in the book. Now we'll read the book. You will see that the text is large and well spaced, and there are clear illustrations that go with it. The text says, Dan dips in. Students would have had a lot of practice in segmenting and blending words before reading the book, so by now they might be able to read with some automaticity. But if they get stuck on a word, they can be supported to work it out by sounding out each part of the word and then blending it together. Sam dips in. Dan and Sam sit. Pam sits. Pam is in. Nat is in. Tip, tip, tip. This is a nice simple text with a coherent, sensical storyline which sets students up for successful reading because there is only one tricky word, is, in the book, and students can read the rest of the book with the phonics knowledge that they have gained by this point in the program. In addition to the summary of teacher's notes in the back of each book, there are fuller teaching notes in the accompanying teacher's book. These notes go into more detail about the learning intention of the book, what to do with the students before reading and during reading, particularly when they get stuck on a word. Then there is work after reading the book to check on comprehension and improve fluency. We also provide photocopyable activity sheets to help reinforce the learning focus of this book for students. These activity sheets can also be downloaded from our website. Along with decoding the book, that is, reading the book, another important part of learning is writing and spelling, or encoding. Decoding and encoding are flip sides of the same coin. With the decodable text, the students are focusing on particular sounds and blending those sounds to make words. So a decodable text provides a great basis for spelling and writing. The teaching of reading, spelling, and writing should happen at the same time, focusing on the same letters and sounds to create words and spell them correctly. So we've finished our look at a Set 1 book. Now, let's jump ahead through the program to see how it develops. This book, A Kit and a Cut, is in Set 5. In this book, students are introduced to a new phoneme, air, which is spelt A-I-R. Again, the inside front cover of the book gives some words with this new sound for students to practice decoding. There are also a few tricky words to review in this book. These are growing in number as we move along through the program. Then we go into the story. The amount of text is growing and direct speech has been introduced. There are also speech bubbles. From Set 4 onwards, there is a page of words to blend at the end of the book. These are words that have been in the book that the students have just read. They should be able to read all these words because they have been taught all the phonemes. They might be able to read with some automaticity now with the practice that they have had. However, keep in mind that the average reader needs to be exposed to a new word between 4 and 14 times for it to become automatic. For a struggling reader, it could take up to 40 exposures for a word to become recognized automatically. The books in the higher sets also have a handy synopsis of teaching notes at the end. And there is also always a list of tricky words for students to review and practice. Now let's look at a non-fiction text in Series 2, Set 7. This is where we consolidate learning. Students know the simple and complex code, and we now add another challenge, which is adjacent consonants. There are some words on the inside front cover of the book for them to practice segmenting and blending. Non-fiction titles are essential to help students make connections to the real world. There are plenty of non-fiction texts in Series 2 of our program. You can see the text is developing with more text on each page. Again, at the end of the book, there are some words to blend and practice reading, along with teaching notes and tricky words to review. Finally, we'll look at a book in Set 11 of Series 2, which is the last set of the series. In Sets 8 to 11, the teaching focus is alternative spellings for known phonemes. In this book, Professions, the focus phoneme is sh, sh, which was taught back in Set 4. In Set 4, the spelling students learnt for this phoneme was sh. But now they're going to learn that that sound can also be represented by other spellings. This is extended code. The inside front cover shows the alternative spellings they are learning, and also gives some words to blend as usual. In the last part of the program, books have more text as you would expect. But again, all the words, except the tricky words, are decodable using the phonics knowledge that the students have been taught. Again, at the end of the book, there is a list of words to blend, teaching notes, synopsis, and tricky words review. To summarize, the Sunshine Phonics Decodables program systematically and sequentially teaches the 44 phonemes of English and many different spellings of those sounds. The program starts by teaching simple code, then complex code, and then extended code. The code is taught at a sound and letter level, at word level, and then at sentence and text level. We provide explicit and comprehensive teaching notes at all stages of the program. We also provide extensive assessment materials. The result of all this is the students build up a strong phonic knowledge and have the opportunity to practice and apply knowledge as it grows by reading decodable text that matches exactly what they have learned to that point. They are set up for reading success.